Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to the Hyperspace Database. I'm Jonesy the Mandalorian, your humble host here, with today's topic, the TIE Oppressor. The TIE Oppressor, or the CNR Fleet Systems TIE Oppressor Strike Fighter, was an alternate version of the classic TIE Fighter design developed shortly after the Battle of Yavin for the Empire. The Oppressor was 26 feet long, 21 feet wide, and 20 feet high. It had twin ion engines that allowed the ship to achieve a maximum atmospheric speed of around 621 miles per hour. It was armed with 2 laser cannons, 2 missile launchers which could hold 8 concussion missiles each, and 2 projectile mounts. The TIE Oppressor was a limited series TIE fighter that was primarily used as a direct rival to the Rebel Alliance Y-Wing fighter, and it served in many different roles besides being a light bomber. The ship was designed to house a heavier payload than the standard TIE fighter, but not be locked into the role of bomber like the TIE bomber was, being more maneuverable but with medium ordnance instead of heavy bombs. The ship was decently armored for a TIE fighter, and possessed deflector shields to withstand more severe punishment than the lighter TIE fighters. While this ship was a little slower than the standard TIE fighter, which was admirable for a light bomber, it was also very bulky, which made it far less maneuverable than the standard TIE and the much sleeker TIE Interceptor. The additions of missile launchers and deflector shields were offset by these limitations, and so the ship was often an easier target than the quicker TIE fighters. It was an effective craft when used against enemy capital ships and light cruisers, and was often called on to engage enemy starfighter units with its large concussion missile magazines, though was not a main staple when used in starfighter squadrons, when other fighters were available. As far as the history of the ship goes, only a limited number of them were ever produced, as they were being tested by veteran TIE pilots in an effort to see if a faster, lighter bomber was worth the time and cost to develop. When these ships were deployed with other bomber units, it was found that while they outperformed the bombers in terms of speed and maneuverability, Rebel pilots were still able to attack them with overwhelming speed and power. They were often able to turn the tables on Rebel pilots, though, who thought they were just as slow and unmaneuverable as TIE bombers. But this was not enough to outmatch the versatility of ships like the X-Wing fighter in ship-to-ship dogfights. Another downside to the TIE Oppressors was the cost, as they were much more expensive to produce than the TIE Fighter and the TIE Bomber. When all of these factors were weighed and measured, it was concluded that the TIE Oppressor was not to be mass-produced, and many of its systems would be later incorporated into the much more successful TIE Defender unit. The TIE Oppressor was featured in the Jump to Lightspeed expansion for the popular MMO video game Star Wars Galaxies, and it was a flyable craft for the Imperial Masterclass pilots. It was the only bomber in the game to feature 3 missile launchers, where all the other craft had 2, and it was harder to hit, being smaller and very maneuverable compared to the other bombers in the game. The TIE Oppressor also appears in the Thrawn's Revenge mod for the strategy game Star Wars Empire at War, as a flyable unit, paired in squadrons to harass enemy units in groups. While the TIE Oppressor was not as well-rounded as the TIE Defender or other more versatile craft, it was a notable improvement over the slower TIE Bomber, and was better armed than the standard TIE Fighter, which allowed the Imperial Navy to improve on future fighters and develop them to be even deadlier against their enemies. Would you like to know more about great Star Wars topics just like this one you just watched? Be sure to stick around to the end for some secret trivia, hit those like buttons and the subscribe button if you haven't already, and be sure to check out my other videos for more great Star Wars content. Be sure to chat with me in the comments too, because I really like talking to you. Incredible shout out to my Gold Captain level supporters on Patreon, Miss2003, Nick Sutphin, and Matthew Scott. Your support is so incredibly appreciated, and you just keep the show on its feet. Thank you so much. Thank you, family and friends, for watching this episode. Check out these other ones that you might be interested too, and be sure to talk with me in the comments because we keep the community going strong. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.